good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Welcome to the Misfits Racing League, Season 6, Round 7 here in Tier 2. We've already had a race last night in the circuit of Portugal, and what we've learned from that it's relatively tricky to go through corners, especially while trying to go on the offense, because this track can catch you out quite easily and you will spin. Last week we were in Monaco and only 9 drivers of this tier finished the race. Several others were absent, so that kind of changed the standings quite a lot. And now we have a unique situation here that we have a team 1-2, as in Red Bull has both drivers in a 1-2 situation in this tier. Wisp and Big Turbina leading the way, with Wisp having a disastrous qualifying last week, starting last, clawing his way back to 7th. Is now still leading from his teammate, who is now his nearest rival. Big Turbina in 2nd place, just overtaking our Dutch friend Remco van Putten, who is now 3rd with 51 points. Sano Goat, eventually, I believe from the top of my head, had some points, but didn't really have a fantastic race. Now is sitting in 4th with 49, which is on equal ground with Leclerc, who is really sitting in P5. Domigen just right behind him. Polypunk, absent last week, now back in the car, fortunately for him, sitting in P7, and Deexer, Psycho and Fraser rounding up the top 10. Fraser, Doni with the N of Nico and Luda are absent tonight, and therefore we have some reserves in, and those 3 actually are cutters who will be racing in the Williams cars instead of Fraser. We have Haydar Tokay taking the place of Doni in the Mercedes. And we also have our good friend Freeware joining in the seat of the AlphaTauri of Luda. So that is the 3 reserve drivers for you tonight. We also have a driver change in this tier. 2 driver changes, in fact, as in that Alexander Johansson, we all know him well for his excellent reserve drive pace and results the past few weeks here in Tier 2, now joining Mercedes in the place of Maka. And we have Gerson taking the place of Hahn in the Haas car. So those are the 2 new permanent drivers here in the 2nd tier. As for the Constructors' Championship, it's also Red Bull all the way, with them quite comfortably leading with more than 40 points from Alpine. They are sitting in P2, just ahead of Williams, which is an equal ground there with McLaren. Both of them have 75 points in the bag. In P5 at the moment is Aston Martin, mostly currently thanks to Leclerc. This is an excellent performance last week, finishing on the podium. AlphaTauri currently in 6th, Alfa Romeo in P7, Mercedes in 8th, Haas in P9. And then rounding off that table is Ferrari with only 14 points at the moment. We could have seen Krempi taking quite a few points home last week with an excellent drive and avoiding all the carnage until he got involved in a turn 1 incident with, I believe it was Psycho in the McLaren. So that ended his race earlier than he would have hoped, probably. But let's see if he can claw his way back, because this is no longer a tight street circuit. This is quite the wide track with plenty of overtaking opportunities, especially on the main straight. And if you can keep the car close enough, you'll also be able to do some overtakes on the back straight, the small one, with a tiny bit of DRS. It's quite entirely possible, as we had seen last night when the game put Ayub Khan, the championship leader in Tier 3, on a bad strategy, which forced him to claw his way back up until the podium places, and he got lucky there with a late puncture from Dark. So that will bring us actually to the strategy. We had an early safety car in Tier 3 last night, which forced some drivers to go from the softs to the mediums quite a bit earlier than they would have liked. And by the end of the race, most of those who decided to stay out for a one-stop had their tires pretty much completely dead. Dark's tires were especially dead, as he got a puncture in the last lap, at which iGain crashed, so we couldn't see it, unfortunately. But he dropped from P2 all the way to P10, so that's very, very unfortunate. Either way, we are now getting ready for tonight's race. And let's see what Tier 2 can do. From the top of my head, we had a pole position time of a 16.3 set by Ayub Khan in Tier 3. So let's see what he can, or what this tier actually can do in terms of setting a lap time. We are now switching live to the track, if I might be so bold to do so. There we are then. At Portugal, another sunny night, still no rain seen in this entire season, at least for Tier 3 and Tier 2. But we might possibly see some rain during the race. So once again, I do not know the weather, unless one of the drivers or maybe one of their engineers who is in the stream right now hopefully can tell me. We already have some Turbina fans in the chat. Jessis and Wildy. All cheering on a big Turbina, one of the Red Bull drivers. Dry and dry. Thank you. This is Reepy for your weather update. Still no rain then, unfortunately. Always fun to see the weather mix things up. But once again, a dry race. Speaking of Crampy, we were talking about him a bit earlier. As his race in Monaco didn't go to plan, he's now first out on track. It would be awesome actually to observe some rain. I'd like to see that. So Crampy then out on track on the medium tires just to save a set of softs for later in qualifying and possibly in the race when a safety car hits. And chances of safety car here, judging from last night, well, those chances are very high, just say that. The pole time yesterday, as said before, is 16.3 something from the top of my head. And I wouldn't be surprised if we went well into the 1 minute 15s tonight. You already see some drivers in the Discord boasting about their lap times on time trials being 15.9ers. And I wouldn't be surprised if we would go even faster than that. So my suggestion, or at least my thought, I was quite close to it last night. I said a 16.4, 16.5 for Tier 3 would be quite good. And they were just a bit quicker than that, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 15.8 here in Tier 2. We have come together somehow. It's Sano Goat and one of the Red Bulls having a bit of a tussle for some reason. It was Wisp and Sano Goat. They were coming closely together there, I saw on the mini-map. Looks like both cars are just fine, and they're both starting the hot laps right now. But it looks like Wisp's lap is automatically invalidated, as he probably went off the road in Tier 3. Sanogoat's lap doesn't get invalidated, so it's a bit weird things going on there. Crampy, the first one out, has invalidated his lap somewhere in Sector 1, or at the start of Sector 2. So let's actually see if we can see somebody else driving around. Domi just started his lap there. He might just pull off an interesting surprise here in his McLaren. That Portimao track is another one ready to surprise us. I'm quite positive about that. So let's see what they can do. Domi then opening up on his medium tires. Purple with a 22.0, already 2/10 faster than most Tier 3 drivers last night, which most of them had a 22.2 in the first sector. So, of course, with them being Tier 1, no surprise that they're quicker. Aro then looks like he's the first one to go and set a lap time in his Haas. He's got a new teammate, so here's hope for himself and his team to some greater times. Opening up with a 17.6 and immediately Freeware goes quicker with a 16.8. Polypunk slotting in right behind him with more or less the same time. Only 3/100ths of a second separate both drivers from provisional pole. And immediately his teammate Remco goes even quicker than that with a 16.7. Big Turbina now slotting in with a 16.9. Domi then with his medium tires quicker than Aro on the softs with a 17.4. And Leclerc, wow, look at him. This man is really growing in terms of pace this season. We saw him having a bit of a rough start. And there he is then on the front row at the moment. Of course, still plenty of drivers having to set their lap time as Alexander Johansson goes a lot faster. And already the pole time of Tier 3 has been beaten by the new permanent driver in Tier 2, Alexander Johansson in the Mercedes with a 16.251, which is about just over half a tenth quicker than the fastest time in Tier 3. So now that's over half the grid finished their lap times. Johansson, one of the quickest drivers here in Tier 2, currently on his way right behind one of the Red Bulls, and I think that is actually Wisp on the medium tires, and Sanagot is quickly catching up to him as he's on a softer compound, and now gets the benefit of a tow as Wisp's battery is pretty much dead, and he enters the pit lane there, so no lap time for him just yet. Sanagot then going on the front row for now with a 16.348. So that's a very quick lap time, and the last sector was actually a purple one. He's just under 1/10 of a second slower than Alexander Johansson. Absolutely, to be precise, that is 97 milliseconds. Yeah, I do like numbers, just FYI. Going to his reserve teammate tonight, Cutters on the medium tires. Let's see what he can do. His first time here in a Tier 2 Williams car. Round the final corner onto the main straight. No more battery available to him until the finish line, and there he goes into P9 with a 17.1. But I'm very impressed actually by Psycho, who went into the 1 minute 16s on the medium tire. So that's a very strong time there from the McLaren driver. After his pretty dismal race in Monaco, he'd like to have a good result, and I see some potential here, him starting on the medium tires in the top 10. Which for him would be fantastic news. Freeware is really going for it. He's already on his second outlap. His teammate is just ahead of him, slowing down over there, as you can see. And he's already set his lap time, currently sitting 12th with a 17.6. Just a tiny bit faster than Aro is. Of course, he's going to have to go again, but it looks like he's had a bit of a spin. So, not good for his tires, as he like to keep those as fresh as he possibly can. Spins don't exactly help as he moves out of the way for one of the Alpine cars. And that is actually Polypunk, who's on an outlap as well. It is like Aro wants to be behind the Alpine driver. And as he wasn't too sure where he was in terms of a lap, Remco really slow here after turn 2. And there we go, he's finally found the proper gear to get going. Creating a big gap to the car ahead of him. I think that was Big Turbina. Yes, it was. And I think Leclerc as well. No, it actually wasn't Leclerc. Leclerc is just leaving the pit lane. It's his teammate Daz. There we are. Oh, nearly lost the car there in the second sector. That's a very enthusiastic outlap. As we switch to him, he nearly loses the car. So he probably was a bit scared that we suddenly all had our eyes on him. But there you are. Daz without a lap time, along with quite a few other drivers actually, who still need to set a time, including the third reserve of today, Haydar Tokay, which actually rhymes, funnily enough. So here he comes then, getting ready for his hot lap. Right behind him, Big Turbina. Let's join him in his car and see if he can get his Red Bull a bit closer to the top. He's currently sitting only P8, and he needs a big improvement of more than 0.7 of a second in order to steal that provisional pole position from Alexander Johansson, who was actually his teammate in the Season 5 in Tier 3. And he did a lot of work to help his teammate to the driver's title. But here he is then. Now he might actually be driving for the title himself after his great performance and his win in Monaco last week. He was pretty much dominant over every other driver there on the track. And closing his gap to less than 30 points to the championship leader, his teammate Wisp, who still hasn't set a lap time. Whoa there, a bit of an oversteering moment there, a bit too early on the power as he exited the corner over there. Another tricky corner coming up here. Oh, he's really pushing it hard. He's mostly drifting, and there you go, pushed it too hard, lost the car in the famous, from the top of my head, turn 8. I'm very bad with numbers when it comes to corners. But there he goes, that's his attempt over. Let's switch to his teammate right behind him at the moment. Let's see if he can keep it on track. It's very tight, but he does manage to keep the car on track. So the other Red Bull then going safe and sound. Wisp, also a qualifying beast, had a lot of bad luck in Monaco last week, and it's invalidated. So bad news for both Red Bulls. Freeware has in the meanwhile slotted his car into P2 after a mighty second attempt there with a 16.3 The time like Sanagoat has is also invalidated, by the way. Polypunk, I think at the moment is no longer on his way because his fuel is low and his battery is pretty much dead. As he's now passing one of the Ferraris, literally crossing the track for some reason. That was quite a dangerous move from, that was actually Crampy. Thankfully he was ghosted. But that was an interesting thing to see. If he wasn't ghosted, he might have taken out the Alpine driver there. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Interesting choice of getting your car back onto the track there. Let's see then what the other drivers can do. I've got no clue where many of these cars are at the moment. But it looks like Psycho has already invalidated his lap. And there we go. Into the 1 minute 15s we go. Alexander Johansson improving his lap by almost 0.3 of a second. Going even quicker. And getting very close to my predicted pole time. The man in the Mercedes is absolutely flying. Doing a great job there. And once again showing his great pace. Let's switch to the man currently sitting in last place, Daz, once again on an outlap. And the man ahead of him, Wisp, now is going to set a proper lap time. What can he do on these tires? Very close to pole position, exactly 1/10 away from it in fact. A 16.0 brings him to the front row, but not quite to pole position yet. And I think he's going to have some fierce competition in terms of claiming those first places in qualifying still. Now that Alexander Johansson's got himself a seat. Clark currently in P10, still in the pit lane as we have a spin of one of the... Oh dear, it's not a spin, in fact it's a crash. Johansson is out of qualifying. He's crashed his car and trying to catch some camera point to see where exactly he is as Haydar passes him, but unfortunately his car has been taken away already as this man's already setting a second purple sector. So an impressive day for Mercedes if he manages to complete this powerful looking lap as he comes around the final and long right hand corner onto the main straight, opening DRS in a moment's time, getting as close to the wall as possibly, spending as little time on track, and there he comes then into P7. That's where he slots himself. Looking quite strong on his first outing here in the second tier. Very promising indeed. So no more chances then for Johansson and Goat. Also welcome Jeff to the stream. I'm glad you're with us tonight. So let's see. Repeat very slow at the moment. Is there anybody else on a hot lap? Maybe Gian is. No, is going straight back into the pit lane, currently sitting 9th. Dome, I think. No, not on a hot lap either. Very slow, but 1 minute 30 already. And that's his lap pretty much over. And I think it's fair to say that everybody is preparing for their final attempt on a quick line. One of those, a quick lap. One of those cars preparing for a quick lap is Leclerc's Aston Martin, as he now crosses the line and is ready to start his lap. He's currently sitting P11 and now P12 is, let's see who went up very quick there. It's actually his teammate Daz going really quick, putting himself with a 16.4 into P6. So a mighty lap from Leclerc's teammate there as he moves out of the way of quite a few cars passing him at high speed. One of those cars is being Cotter's Williams, as he is currently having a charging battery, so not an attempt for a fast lap at the moment. Big Turbina then, after a spin, failed his second attempt to get anywhere higher. It's only P15 now. He's fallen down a lot since, well, like 3 or 4 minutes ago. He was P8 a while ago, as Remco now slots in at P3 with a 16.222. I quite like that. I quite like those numbers. Here he comes then. Looks like it's going to be a second attempt for the Red Bull driver here, as he's not improving whatsoever. Heading into the pit lane. If he's quick, he can still come out in time for a last attempt at a better position. It's not looking good at the moment for Big Turbina. So that leaves only the Ferrari drivers with a lap time to set. Crampy is currently out on track with an attempt at the moment. Let's see where he'll place his car. He's quite a strong driver. I know that from seeing him in Tier 2 and then Season 5. He can be really quick, but so far it's not coming out just yet. As the Turbina fans are gathering quite a lot in the chat at the moment. It's the most spoken thing of tonight. And there he is then, Crampy, only managing P17. It's not looking good. Does he have enough fuel in his tank to do another attempt? I wonder. Otherwise, it's not looking strong for Ferrari right now. One of their drivers is sitting P17. Ahead of both Haas drivers, actually, who are both, well, not performing that great on this track. And Kane is having a good time in his pit lane. He's just chilling out there, sitting. Let's see if he comes out for his final attempt. Anyway. See Remco over here. And I think his teammate is currently trying to improve his lap. It's now a 16.4 in P7 at the moment. But I'm quite sure he can improve that lap time. 1/10 quicker in the first sector, so looking strong, while Kane is having a coffee apparently in the pit lane. And he's coming out now, so his coffee is probably finished. Hope he enjoyed it, and now we'll be able to stay awake long enough for his qualifying run to continue. Let's see where he can put his Ferrari by the end of qualifying. It's very busy out on track. You see yellow flags everywhere for people slowing down to let other drivers pass, or potentially to create a gap that suits them better. Polypug now 2/10 quicker after 2 sectors, getting closer, ever closer to his teammate, who might actually give him a tow onto the main straight. Is he going to do that? It's looking good. And I think, yes, there we are, Remco ahead of Polypunk, going to give him a tow onto the main straight. There's some teamwork from the Alpine drivers. It was a very short tow though, as Remco heads into the pit immediately, and his teammate has now beaten him to 4th place, and that means an Alpine 4 and Alpine P5 at the moment at least. Deekser with a great time, currently sitting 3rd. Oh dear, I think Freeware's had a bit of a moment there, as we see one of the drivers behind him having a spin at the exact same location. Daz, while pushing hard, also spins out in turn 8. So a lot of drivers pushing hard. We see Haydar, I think, going slow through there as well. So many drivers are having issues there in that corner. Big Turbina approaching it now, a purple first sector, but a unleashed McLaren right behind him, also on a hot lap, might start and cause some issues as he goes quickest in the first sector as well, at least according to the game. So these drivers then, unless Domi is going to be a lot quicker, I don't think Big Turbina needs to worry. And there we go, Alexander Johansson going a tiny bit quicker, 6 milliseconds of his previous pole time, now still on provisional pole. And I think Wisp's got it all to do now. Does he have some time to do an extra run? I think he does. Yes, Crampy retiring in the pit lane. No improvement from him, only P18 right now. So there he is then, the qualifying beast of Wisp of Flavor Town, as his name is right now in his team. He is, I think, the only one who can potentially get really close to Alexander Johansson's pole time. He's just over a 10th slower at the moment. So he's got it all to do then, as his teammate is also getting ready to finish his lap there. Only P12 for Big Turbina. Starting outside the top 10, Domi slotting in P10, Leclerc only P13 finishing his qualifying run there. Aro only 19th fastest, which is no great news for the Haas team. His teammate though is a lot faster, sitting P9 at the moment. But let's see what Wisp can do as he approaches the end of the final sector. We see an Aston Martin causing a yellow flag off the track at the moment, just behind him, fortunately for him. It's only 39 milliseconds faster. It's not enough just yet, but he's ever drawing closer. He's within 1/10 of provisional pole position. What can he do as he approaches the final few corners? The long right-hander is the only corner coming up. No oversteer, so no speed losses. He can go full speed into the final corner. Onto the main straight. He's still got plenty of battery and he's going in the pit lane. It's no pole position for Wisp over here. And I think very few drivers are still on a attempt. Yes, no more drivers are in fact on an attempt any longer. And the only spectacular thing we saw there, Wisp moving out of this qualifying provisional pole potential there. He got us all excited, and then it was a bit of an anticlimax there for our championship leader. So our top 3 then, Alexander Johansson claiming pole position for the first time as a permanent driver here in Tier 2. Wisp on the front row with him with just over a 10th slower. Then under a 10th slower than him is Deegserve in 3rd place. Polypunk then on the 2nd row along with Deegserve with a 16.1 as well. Only 3 100s between the 2 drivers. Reserve driver Hadar in the Mercedes in P5, Remco in P6, Psycho in 7th, Freeware in P8, another reserve driver there in the top 10, Sanagoat in P9, and Gerson rounding off the top 10 for Haas. And where did Kane end up? Oh dear, still last. Half a second slower than the man in P19, so it's not looking good there, I'm afraid. P1 is on the left side, I think, on the grid, but I might be wrong. I'm trying to think back to last night's race, but I think it's on the left. Oh dear, we see a migrating host issue. That might be a problem, as Psycho has probably crashed or left the lobby. He's restarting the lobby, in fact. Okay, so some issues have arisen. A lobby settings issue. Oh, there's something has happened. So one of these settings is probably incorrect then. So we are indeed moving a lobby. So that means we will be back in a moment. Until that is fixed, enjoy this beautiful flag of Portugal. Quite an exciting qualifying though. The top 2 really close together. And I hope the drivers were able to remember the top 20 just to be sure. I'm going to show it before I switch to the new lobby as well. This is your top 20 in case you want to reform the grid for the race. There you go. All right. So that means I am now either going to be re-invited. Yes, I am being re-invited here. No, that's not. That's the old lobby. That's the wrong invitation. I'm waiting for an invitation. Is the only way currently out of the game is by closing it. For some reason, Codemasters decide you can no longer leave the session after qualifying or a race. So I'm just waiting for hopefully an invite to the next lobby. Curious to know what issue we had. It's only been told a lobby issue with an issue with lobby settings. Maybe the weather wasn't all dry. Don't think the weather is going to be changed now ahead of the race, otherwise people might be able to change their setup. Just a little reminder for all drivers, if you're listening, because right now it's just a podcast. Make sure to pick your setup, and if you're in the top 10, make sure to start on the soft tires. In the meanwhile, I'm going to grab myself a quick drink, so I will be right back. Well, the game decided to end the lobby itself, which is good, so that doesn't mean I have to close the game. I wonder who's currently hosting the lobby. It might be the same player, but let's just join one of the players here and hope it's the correct lobby. There we go, that's actually correct. We are back in our spectator position and getting ready for the race, as they are now forming the grid as we speak, with some drivers still missing. We're still missing 2 drivers. Let's hope they join quick so they can finish up the lobby. I mean, finish up the grid, and then we are ready to race. So a sunny race, as said by Deegserve. No rain predicted at all. What we can do, though, is predict the race winner. Will Alexander Johansson take it from pole, or will Wisp get in his way? Maybe one of the other drivers just behind, as the qualifying times, especially in the top 3, were really close. They were all more or less within 0.2 of a second of one another. So I think there's more than one candidate to win this race. And then again, with the trickiness of this track, we might still see a surprise winner tonight. You never really know what will happen here in Portugal. It's quite the unpredictable track. Already see somebody cheering on Deegserve to claim the win here. Let me have a little look at what happened in the last few races in terms of race wins, etc. Let me see, where exactly is Deegserve sitting at the moment. He's only P8 in the standings, having claimed one podium in Australia when he came on third. And right now he's in a good position to actually get his first race win. So as I said, Big Turbina winning the last race. Wisp has most wins to his name with 2, but recently his form hasn't been exactly up to par, with a P4 and a P7 in the last 2 races alone. So there's still plenty of opportunities. Leclerc, outside the top 10 at the moment, came home third last week, as I said before. Remco might also be one of those drivers to potentially win the race, and I can totally see Polypunk doing so as well. Both of the drivers have already claimed a victory, Remco in the first race and Polypunk in the second race. So there's still plenty of hopes. Also, Hanners, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Glad you're watching and joining us for the reforming of the lobby at the moment, as some issues have arisen, whatever. And the grid is now being reformed for the race. Qualifying, fortunately, has been completed, but the race needs a fresh lobby due to the issues. Good to have a bit of a drink in between. It looks like the lobby is ready to go, as they say, ready up. And that means we are gonna go racing. The time has come and I'm excited. Let's hope this will be a fantastic race to watch. Just like yesterday, we've seen plenty of action, plenty of risky overtakes. Some of them resulting in a great reward, others resulting in a spin. Especially in turns 4 and turns 4 and 8. Both of those are very risky to put an overtake in. Or actually, it's turn 3 and turn 8 from the top of my head, where overtaking can be risky, especially if you do it in the inside and then get your power up too soon. And once again, a reminder to pick your setup if you are driving in the lobby right now. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed big time. And the top 10, you must start on the softs. Still waiting for some drivers for their PCs to ready up. Leclerc and Aro is still circling around. Others have their check marks ready. And then we will get started. There we go. Now, I hope everybody will not forget to pick their setups. That would be disastrous. Another reminder, like 6 of them in the tier 2 check-in chat. Setups. There you go. If they still forget now, then it's going to be very unfortunate. So everybody's preparing. We're just waiting for all drivers to put under the correct tires. The only advantage that the top 10 will have now is that they will have fresh soft tires, unused. That's the only advantage they've got from restarting the lobby. Outside of the top 10, of course, we'll have a free tire choice. And last night we saw 2 drivers going for the hards, but I think we'll see them all in the mediums unless they want to go for the soft medium strategy instead of the medium soft. Here we are then. It is time to go for the formation lap. And as I said, the pole position P1 grid slot is on the left side of the track. And we are now ready to get going. Alexander then leading the way from Wisp and Deegserve and Polypunk. Hadar might pull in a surprise win as well. This is what the game thinks the strategy is going to be. Let's have a little look at those tires. As I said there, everybody in the top 10 on the softs, except for Gerson for some reason has forgotten to switch to the proper tires. So I don't know what the proper course of action is going to be now. But he's on the wrong tire. He shouldn't be on the mediums. So let's see what the FIA will say about that. The incorrect strategy has been selected, or he's just completely forgotten, or didn't see all the warnings about the tires. So let's see what happens with him. Other than that, we have everybody starting on the mediums outside of the top 10, with the exception of Reapy, who's going for the alternate strategy, starting on the softs. Going to be quick at first and a bit slower in the second half of the race. So he's gonna go aggressive for the first stint. The time has nearly come as Alexander is in a hurry. He's quite far ahead of the rest of the field. As Deeksurf drives straight through Wisp. Yes, Gerson is on a medium, I'm aware. He shouldn't be. So I wonder what happens now. Is he forced to make a pit stop on lap 1? Or will he be disqualified straight away? He's asking the same questions as I am in the Discord chat at the moment. I puts up with this game makes me medium. That's an interesting sentence, but we all know what he means. He will pit on lap 1. Yes, there you go. It's confirmation. He must come into the pit lane on the first lap. So that's his race pretty much already in tatters. The field, though, is pretty much ready to get going. Let's see who will lead out of turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. It's time to get going. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights, and we are officially on our way right now. Looks like a quite good start from both drivers in the top 2, but it looks like Wisp might have been gotten away a bit better there as he slots in right behind. The other drivers got a much worse start. Deeksurf being able to keep his position. Psycho moving into P5. Polypunk in P6, fighting with Freeware actually for that position at the moment. And it looks like all drivers are going through safely, at least for the time being, through the first few corners. No yellow flags just yet. Sanogo then claiming, actually trying to get that position there. P9 almost going side by side and now getting dive bombed there by Domi, trying to claim that position. No success so far yet, as these softs are currently faster as we speak. But it looks like a good start there. Gerson already falling down the order, and he still needs to make his pit stop. So that's a pretty, well, dismal start, I can say, at least for him there. And the top 2 already pulling away from the rest of the field, as Deeksurf is pretty much holding up everybody behind him right now. Or at least it looks like it is, as he has already got a second of a gap to Wisp, who's fighting with Alexander for the lead of the race. So a very, very, very clean start, which is very good to see. And in terms of position changes, only, well, not many positions have been gained by most drivers. Reapy's gained 3 since the race start, now driving around in P13 as we come around the final corner and see what happens here. Wisp patiently waiting behind Alexander for possibly a DRS to be enabled very soon. We all know that a battery here as well is quite tricky to keep healthy, and Crampy then trying to stay ahead of Cutters, who's chasing him down to claim P15 at the moment, but so far he's safe for the time being at least. Reapy has lost some positions, I'm afraid. He was in P13, now he's dropped down to P14. He's been overtaken by, I think, Leclerc, who's now gained 1 position and driving around in 13th place. So the fight for the lead then between Alexander and Wisp. Deeksurf trying to follow. He's now within a second again, but he is struggling to stay within that DRS range as Remco is trying to chase him down. And it looks like Freeware is really on the rear of Psycho, trying to get P5 from him, the reserve driver of the AlphaTauri team there, and giving it his all to score some points for the reserve team. We have a spin, and I am afraid it is Canet and Crampy. It's both Ferraris, surprisingly, who have, I don't know how that happened, but it's not looking good for the team in red, as both of their drivers have spun out and are now very far behind the rest of the field. Crampy, in fact, getting a penalty I'm curious to know what penalty that is. A 5-second penalty, so that must have been a collision then, which is extremely unfortunate. DRS now, though, enabled. Both Ferraris at the rear. Gerson with his tire change very far behind the field. So 3 drivers having a bad day as Alexander sets the fastest first sector. Wisp right behind him now with DRS. Both of them can now start pulling away properly from Deegserve, who's struggling harder and harder to keep up with them all. And we have some overtakes happening. Big Turbina going side by side with the Clark, who's trying to take P12 from him. He will have the inside line here, and he manages to get past the Red Bull. So Big Turbina back down to P13 where he started the race, and immediately under pressure from a Reapy on the faster tires is going to try and go around the inside here. But Big Turbina breaks a bit later, is able to defend quite nicely there, but Reapy is not giving up just yet. It's AlphaTauri versus Red Bull there for 13th place only, but it is a nice fight to see. Just ahead of them, a battle between teammates might be brewing up, as you can see here. It is Das versus Leclerc. Trying to fight for P11, and right behind them another fight, so we can catch both fights within our camera right now as Leclerc moving side by side with his teammate, getting ahead. No defense there from Daz. He's just letting his teammate pass. He probably realizes he's quicker there. And Reapy really hounding Big Turbina, trying to get that 13th place and forcing the Red Bull driver to move down to P14. The men in P2 in the driver's standings struggling to get into the top 10 tonight. A strong race in Monaco, and it looks like not as much of a race here in Portugal. We've lost our gaps, unfortunately, but it looks like Wisp is really starting to pile on the pressure as he's showing Alexander he at least has the same pace as he has and is ready to overtake whenever possible. You see some position changes. Domi there has suddenly lost quite a few places, which allows several drivers. Leclerc is now within the top 10. Daz is still behind him. Big Turbina is closing in on Daz though. There we are. Might be another fight coming up very soon. And let's hope the gaps will be reinstated when the drivers cross the finish line. So then, lap 5 out of 33 happening now. Wisp ever getting closer, but it looks like it's going to be a game of patience between the two race leaders for now. 0.2 of a second he's behind, and just putting on the pressure on Alexander. See if he can cope with that pressure. Deegserve now 2.5 seconds almost away from the two guys ahead of them fighting for the lead. He's not able to keep the pace with the rest, and I think nor can the drivers behind him, because otherwise they would have passed him quite easily. Wisp and Alexander are quite significantly faster than the rest of the field at the moment. Hashtag Red Bull fans, most of them cheering on Big Turbina, but to be honest, Big Turbina not having a great day right now, still getting chased down by Reapy. Let's now switch back to the tire life, which is always an interesting thing to see. Here we are going quite wide there, Big Turbina trying to stay ahead of Reapy. The closest fights at the moment are between Remco and Psycho. So we have another yellow flag. I'm afraid that is, for some reason, Colors is noted as P20, but he's currently P18. Some glitching going on there with the timing, so make sure to keep in mind. Well, he's not last. He's not 1 minute behind Gerson. That's for sure. There we be. Wisp is getting really close now to Alexander. The fight, I think, might happen at any moment. I think Wisp is realizing that he's got more pace in his going round than Alexander has. So he's just waiting for the proper time to strike without losing the time. He knows that right behind Deegserve has already lost another half a second to both of them, as the rest is following suit. There's a large group right now behind Deegserve trying to get past him. So far, they're all the way down to P9, with Haydar in P9 there. And there's another group with Leclerc leading the way in the third group there. P10 down all the way to P14, and then there's some drivers scattered here and there. Colors, another leaving the session there. It's not going well for him, I'm afraid. There are more issues than we know there are. Not looking good for the Williams reserve. Deekserve is now starting to slowly pull away. It looks like a gap there, but it's only 0.8 of a second. So that means Remco still does have DRS, but Psycho now very, very close, ready to make the move. And there he is then, with very low battery, going side by side with Remco. But he does he's forced to go around the outside of the track a little bit there into turn 2. Remco now having the inside line. And looks like Remco is still coming out ahead because he had a bit more battery and therefore a bit more pace on the straight. Psycho though still very close. Might he try another move here? Unfortunately the camera decides to show the gravel, and there we are. He was trying to go around the outside and now moves onto the inside as his teammate is spinning out of control there, already fallen down to P15. So not a great day, even without a front wing in fact there for Domi. But frankly, no DNFs just yet. No virtual nor normal safety cars there. Top 2 still battling it out. Another yellow flag. The teammate of Deekserve, it's Gian, spun out. And he's still staying ahead of Domi. Of course, Domi's got no front wing, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem there. Domi now, oh, dearie me, as he's trying for some reason to defend his position, which is absolutely unnecessary in my opinion, as without a front wing it's pretty hard to do so. There he goes, very wide, nearly causing some crashes. Aro now moving past as well, Cutter spinning out. And what's happened here? Wisp suddenly lost it. Wisp suddenly lost 2 seconds to Alexander. What on earth has happened? While we were seeing other drivers struggle, Wisp suddenly has got a big gap to the race leader. Alexander is now on his own. 2.4 seconds away from Wisp. What's happened? Shame we missed it. Let's see though. Now is the time for him to prove that he's got more pace. And that way is the only way he can close the gap. Big Turbina then, now leading a ever smaller growing group of cars as Leclerc is moving away from them with more pace at the moment. Reapy with his off tires is not able to capitalize on his alternate strategy, and that might put him into trouble later on in the race. Wisp then, currently on equal pace, he's not able to close the gap, nor is he losing time to his main rival for the victory. Psycho, after trying to make a move, still sitting around in P5. Freeware still sitting in P6, very close behind him are Polypunk and Sanagoat, trying to fight that position as well. Hadar is trying to stay with them as Daz is now overtaken Big Turbina. Big Turbina fallen down back to P12 again. Both Aston Martins are now ahead of him, and Reapy also knocking on the Red Bull's door. Meanwhile, Sanagoat going side by side there with Polypunk and claiming P7 for himself. Up a few extra points, and Big Turbina, everything's happening off screen today for some reason, has claimed back P11 for himself. 2.6 seconds now to the points, so that's quite a big gap there. We see a lot of pace difference tonight. There's a group here with Deekserve with way down to Hadar Tokay with pretty similar pace than the Clarks, with a bit of pace on his own. Big Turbina, Daz and Reapy with the same pace more or less. And then there is Wisp and Alexander on another level with their pace. Lap 10 now I think is the earliest opportunity to come in for an undercut with the medium tire. Soft to medium strategy at least, is what I should say. So this group then steadily driving behind one another. No fights happening just yet, as this is just a big DRS train. Only Deekserve is having no DRS, but when it matters, he's able to keep Remco just far enough behind to prevent any overtake from happening. And my goodness, Psycho's having an absolute lunge to Remco. It didn't work out, unfortunately for him. Remco was awake as the big lunge didn't quite work out there. It could have been an absolute disaster there, but Psycho is showing that he's ready to fight as we speak of them just driving behind one another. He's telling us he's not willing to drive behind one another for very long. And just behind them, Sanogoat trying to go for a move there that we don't usually see it happening on the track. We have a spin, a Daz spinning out of control there. Side by side there goes Sanogoat, immediately trying to take the opportunity to take P6 from Freeware. But Freeware is having none of it. He's defending as much as he possibly can. But this leaves Sanogoat in a great position to still take that position. Here he comes then. Incredibly close behind. Less than a tenth, just following now until he gets the DRS. Some battery. Let's see how the battery is doing. They're pretty much equal. And the first pit stop is coming from Polypunk. Is he going to go for the undercut to overtake the entire group here? Sanogoat in the meanwhile moving into P6, Leclerc then moving into 9th because of the pit stop there of Polypunk. But my goodness, that was one dive bomb there from Psycho trying to claim P4 from Remco. No success just yet though. Is he gonna try again then in this turn? You never really know. No, he's just patiently waiting now as Sanogoat had a bit of an oversteering moment and Freeware immediately showing that he's ready to take back the position if he can. And look at that, he's very close behind right now. Wisp slowly losing time to Alexander. He's starting to pull away for sure now that Wisp has got no longer DRS available to him. Dijkserv getting a 3-second time penalty, which is bad news for him, as the entire group will now be overtaking him if the finish line should happen right now. So podium is now looking less likely, unless of course the other drivers get a penalty as well. It's only 1/3 into the race, so there's still plenty of chances for him to root for the other drivers to get a penalty. And there he goes then, into the undercut as well. Remco following suit, and Psycho along with some other drivers I think staying out. No, only Haydar is staying with him, so the entire group has decided to come in. Looky there. So let's see whose strategy is going to be the best. Leclerc with Victor Bina now moving in P4 and P5. Reepi still on those old soft tires, joining with them. His pace is still as good as the medium tire user ahead of him. And now Victor Bina's got no more DRS, so he might potentially be a sitting duck for this is Reepi, but he's forcing him off the track as he tried to make a move around the outside, destroying one of the Rolex signs. I believe that sponsor is not going to be too happy of a man after tonight. But it looks like Victor Bina defending hard there from Reepi. And I think this man might just try and go for a pit stop sooner rather than later, as he's now starting to realize he isn't going to get past the Red Bull that easily. So then, Alexander without a pit stop just yet. Wisp has gone for the potential undercut. But if it's going to be by one lap only, which is going to happen. There he is, into the pit lane he comes. Let's see how much closer Wisp will be after he's coming out of the pit lane. There he is, he's currently being held up. That's not good news for him. He's getting held up by the Aston Martin. Daz, with the older tires, has all the right to defend, which is not good for Wisp. And I'm afraid he's going to get away. He's going to get out even further now. There's Alexander in free air. And Wisp has lost time. He's overtaken Daz only just now. And his gap to Alexander is about the same than it was before the pit stop. So he's gained absolutely nothing from the undercut due to other drivers on the medium tires in the way. He's gonna try Rango in the inside there of Gian. He wants to get past him as quick as he can, as he's technically fighting for the win still. Haydar, Mercedes reserve driver, is now leading the way. Leclerc quite a bit behind him. Victor Bina hanging around just behind him in third place. No, actually 4.5 seconds. We have a yellow flag. It is Daz who spun out and getting on the track quite dangerously there, as every single car is forced to move out of the way for him. Potentially getting a warning due to being forced to move out of the way there. That's a bit of an iffy moment we have there. Gian still getting hounded by Wisp. He knows his time will come soon to get off this position. Wisp being a lot faster on those fresher tires and a better pace right now. This is Reepi then coming into the pit lane, trying to get the undercut. Of course, as Victor Bina will stay out for quite a while longer on the medium tires. Here he comes then, Wisp. And now he's got it all to do, trying to get back to Alexander. It's now 3.3 seconds after both of them had a pit stop. So the undercut hasn't worked. Alexander's pit stop, the overcut, has worked better this time round. We've got some stuff going on. Deek serve, oh dear. Getting it all wrong, trying to overtake as he's now behind Remco. And on the threat from losing the position to Psycho as well. We saw some struggles there in turn 3. And now he's lost some positions. I think he was having a tussle there with Kane. He's now leading this group. He's holding now. He's holding now up. He knows he is, but he doesn't have to move away for them, as he's just racing without any blue flags. He's just having all the tires, and the drivers behind him will have to be patient. This might be the moment, though, where we'll see several drivers pass Kane. He's got no DRS. Hadar in the pit lane now. Victor Bina moving into second place. Still no pit stop for him yet, though. And there he comes then. Remco gonna move past. Let's see if anybody else can move past. Deek Surf needs to reclaim that position as well. But he's just not able to do it. And he might potentially lose connection to Remco now, but he does go on the inside in turn 3, and Psycho enthusiastically follows suit. And Kane is getting a bit surprised here. He's like, whoa, that's a bit scary what you're doing there. Immediately coming aggressively back onto the track, but still behind Deek Surf. He's going to try to go down the inside. Here is famous dive bomb into turn 5 there. And he manages to succeed, but Kane is now lost some time and now is getting hounded by Freeware, who's currently, I believe, having the fastest lap of the race for the time being. Senna Goat, it looks like Kane, dearie me, is he moving out of the way? No, he's still defending, and it's getting a bit chaotic here, with his pace being much slower than the other cars. And Senna Goat, in an unusual place on the track, overtakes him to claim a P10, but Kane is having none of it. His teammate in the meanwhile, Crampy, spinning out again. He's having absolutely the worst day of his life once more. After Monaco disaster, he's now with a Portugal disaster as well. And Kane is not really willing to give up the positions that easily. He's like, screw you, I'm fighting for position here, and you're gonna have to fight me to claim it. And there he goes, into the pit lane, quite early actually to switch to the soft tires, so I wonder what the choice of strategy is there. And now Senna Goat's gonna have to defend like crazy from Freeware in order to keep that position, and he is succeeding for now at least. In the meanwhile, Alexander Johansson, the technical race leader, round the outside of his former teammate. Very much round the outside, forcing into a penalty there. I'm not sure if he's going to be too pleased with that, and I wonder what the FIA thinks of that. If that move was legal or not. He was round the outside, but I don't think he was ahead of Big Turbina there just yet. Either way, he's got a 3-second penalty, which is good news for Wisp, as he's got no penalty yet, but he is 4.2 seconds behind Alexander at the moment, so he needs a bit more pace if he wants to jump onto the no penalty train there and take the win still. He needs a bit more pace, he needs to go faster, but he also needs to think of his tires, which are a lap older than Johansson's. I'm not sure what the halo's got to do with it, Jeff, but yes, that was off track. On the main straight, we are once again Psycho, still getting ready to get past Sanagoat. Sorry, past Deek Surf there. And Deek Surf is still fighting with Remco for technically P3 in the race. Remco back onto the podium places at the moment. Behind them, Psycho is having a look in the inside once again. His favorite place to overtake seems to be right over here. And many drivers are still being caught off guard, and he knows it. But more often than not, he just doesn't succeed. It's a great place to catch them off guard, but more speed when trying to go defending on the outside is what the drivers ahead of him currently have as their advantage. Deek Surf's teammate, in the meanwhile, is approaching. Gian just ahead of him. Remco. I think Gian is going to hold up Remco as long as he can and then let Deek Surf pass quite easily. So let's see what interesting stuff is happening here. And a good point there, PW Jones. All drivers are still in the race, amazingly. Jinx incoming. Well, let's see if for a change I am not jinxing it. And then PW Jones might do so. There he comes then, Remco passing then Guillen for P5. Guillen now's got his teammate right behind him. Will he hold him up for long, or will he try and mess Remco's life as hard as he can? But I don't think Guillen is going to have to stay there for much longer. His teammate is challenging Remco for the podium places. But he's not moving out of the way just yet, as he's still got similar pace. And in the meanwhile, Psycho once again trying to go on the inside in turn 5. And still no success. However, he's got a better exit this time, but he's forced to go around the outside in this corner. And that just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. In turn 8, it's too hard to go around the outside. And I hope, at least for Dijkster's sake. Yes, there he goes then. He's letting him pass quite nicely there. Great teamwork with the Alfa Romeo team. Guillen moving out of the way. And now he's going to mess up, of course, Sandergaard as much as he can. I probably would have preferred to stay within Psycho and Dijkster's position there. But he couldn't do so as they were too close together. Psycho, of course, immediately getting the opportunity as well. Oh my goodness, look at that. Sandergaard getting past immediately, he's not going to wait. And now Dijkster is in trouble, he's got no DRS. And Psycho is very, very hungry tonight. He's going to take whatever he can to claim a position there. He'll be effectively in P4 if he overtakes Dijkster here. Going to try the inside, his favorite place. But he might have a better opportunity in his favorite corner. There he comes, he's half a second behind, so it's probably not going to be enough as his battery's incredibly screaming from being too empty at the moment. And Sandergaard is already pressurizing him for that position as well. Guillen trying to stay as close as he possibly can. Freeware trying to take the position from Guillen. So there's plenty of stuff going on still. The leader of the race is getting caught by the technical leader of the race, Alexander, only 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds behind him right now. Big Turbina, Leclerc, Guillen and Daz and Aro and Crampy as well, not having stopped just yet. And I think Colors hasn't stopped either. So now we have 2 Red Bull drivers behind one another. Both are title rivals, frankly. So I'm curious to see what Big Turbina does. And he's going into the pit lane. There he goes. Kane has switched to the hard tires, interestingly. So that is his strategy of tonight. I wonder where Big Turbina will switch to. There you go, onto the softs. Guillen following suit. Also going for a fresh set of tires, and that of course is also going to be the softs for his last stint of the race. 5.8 seconds, that's a big gap from Alexander to Wisp. So he needs to find more pace, and unfortunately for him, he's not capable of doing so. And we might potentially see a new title candidate here. Alexander just climbed into a permanent seat here for his first race for Mercedes, and already he's about to claim the win. Back to the on-track fight though. Dijkster still trying to hold off Psycho, Yaya, Sandergaard, Freeware, Polypunk and Hadar, who are still driving behind him. Once again, it's this lovely group here. It's the same exact group, with only Remco having moved past after something went wrong for Dijkster, I think, as Leclerc has now come into the pit lane for his one and only stop. Crampy exiting the pit lane and being the first car lapped in the race. So there, a fresh set of soft tires for Leclerc. Let's see where he comes out. It's going to be P10 once again. But he's going to be a lot quicker than the cars ahead of him, so he might be able to close up to the group and potentially fight for what effectively could be a podium. So let's see if that works out for him. He needs to close about 8 seconds though, so that's going to be a tough challenge. As we have a yellow flag, Colors retiring from the session. I think he's having too much issues tonight. And oh dearie me, Psycho is once again having a fancy look on the inside. Deekserv was nearly losing his car because of that move. And oh my goodness, it's nearly going horribly wrong there for Deekserv. And now he spins, it's done, it's over. And the pressure either has become too much or we've seen some contact. It was hard to see there. Either way, Deekserv out of contention for the podiums right now. And Psycho's got to close a 2.34 second gap to Remco in order to challenge for the podium either way. But the aggressive attacks of Psycho now have forced Deekserv out of this group. Some very strong moves there from the McLaren driver. Not entirely, we couldn't properly see what happened there. I'm not sure if there was any contact, but so far it looks like Psycho's car is okay, fortunately for him. But immediately Sanagoat is having a go for P4 then, and he does move past the Williams, then moving into 4th place, leaving Psycho behind, who's also got a penalty, interestingly, and that is a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. Yeah, I was afraid you were a lap behind their colors, sorry to see that. Psycho having a look at the inside again. He's letting him know he's still ready to fight as hard as he can for that position. Aro and Daz making their pit stop as well now. No meaningful position for them tonight, unfortunately. Reapy with his alternate strategy, not having much success. However, he's still able to keep with Big Turbina, who's on the faster and fresher tire at the moment. Colors got codied. Yeah, that's probably the perfect way to describe the nightmare that Colors had to endure this race. Alexander then comfortably leading, still pulling away from Wisp, who's 6.7 seconds behind now. Remco being reasonably far behind him as well. Sanago trying to close the gap along with the rest of the group behind him in tow. All of these drivers are following him, trying to get closer to Remco, but Psycho is still very, very eager and willing to attack whenever he can, as Freeware gets a 3-second time penalty there due to track limit. We saw him going off in the rear. Behind, in the back of the view there of the camera. And let's see if Psycho's gonna go make another lunge down the inside. Gian then setting the fastest lap on his fresh soft tires. No points for him though for that, as he's outside the top 10, driving around in P13 at the moment. Of course, when the interviews happen, I'd really like to know what happened to Wisp when he was suddenly 2 seconds behind Alexander, as he was fighting for the lead for quite a few laps. And then suddenly something happened and we unfortunately missed it on camera. So when the interviews happen, for sure I will ask that. It looks like Sanago and Remco still have about the same pace. The gap remains at 2.2 seconds still when crossing the line here. Psycho is getting very, very close. He's getting very close. He's having a look, but he knows it's just a bit too far to make the move stick. And if he gets past, he needs to pull a 3-second gap to him, as he's got the penalty and Sanago doesn't, and he knows that as well. Freeware is having a penalty too. Polypunk hasn't got a penalty either, so he's quite comfortable there. And Psycho is having a lunge on the inside, and Sanago is moving very wide to ensure no contact is happening, as he knows Psycho really likes to overtake in this corner, and safely and silently he does it. Back into 4th place on track for now. Let's have a quick look, at the positions gained and lost since the race start. No safety cars interfered with these position changes. And as such, the Clark has made up the most positions. Kane actually made up the most positions, arriving around in P14. Still well away from the points with 12 seconds to P13. The Clark having made the most in terms of trying to claw back some points. Hello P4 for Psycho. Sanagot, of course, isn't going to give up, and the batteries are still very, very low, and I think Sanagot is just going to stay behind because he knows overtaking is a risk he doesn't need to take, as Psycho's teammate Domi is getting an even worse race, spinning out on his hard tires. 8 laps to go, with this lap included. Alexander well clear of Wisp with 7 seconds right now. That will be 4 seconds when he crosses the line because of his 3-second penalty, which was induced by trying to take Big Turbina on the outside. Still fascinating to see how some drivers have a great day here and others are absolutely having the worst day of their lives. Just like we saw in Monaco, only one retirement, and that was in the pit lane, and due to connectivity issues, putting cutters on a lap down all of a sudden. So we are now looking at the group that as the only drivers fighting for position, and it looks like all of them are playing the patience game like we've seen so many times before. Although Senegal is actually quite close this time, and he might just have an attempt here into turn 1. No, he just doesn't. He's not taking the risks. He knows he will finish ahead of him if he doesn't get any penalty. So he's just taking it easy. Freeware, does he have 3 or 6 second penalty? Let's see. 3 seconds. Hader already having 9 seconds, so he's definitely out of contention for a podium place. Polypunk looking good as well, with no penalties to his name yet either. We have a spin. One of the Haases is spun out. Aro having a disaster. Haas is not having a great day tonight. Oh, dearie me. Oh, dearie me, that's even worse. Domi crashes into him. The race leader just getting past there. Fortunately, it isn't the race leader crashing into him. I think Domi got caught out a little bit, and now he's not pleased with Aro at all. And there he goes again, into the wall with the rear of his car. And I think I can safely say this is Aro's race pretty much done for, as Domi has shown him he doesn't appreciate him being in the middle of the track. Aro immediately going into the pit. No, he's not going into the pit lane. He's just moving out of every single car's way there, as the big group of Psycho passing them at the moment. Interesting there what was going on with Domi and Aro. Oh boy, indeed. It looks like though Psycho is closing the gap with the group to Remco. It was 2.2 seconds with Sanegoat leading a few laps ago. And now, oh dear, we're starting to get the lag spikes again. Let's hope the game doesn't crash again on us tonight. I'm praying for it not to happen. Either way, as I said, it was 2.2 seconds. Now it's only 1.7, 1.6-ish. So Remco definitely not safe for a podium place just yet if they can keep this pace. Wisp getting it led past by Domi, who is literally moving out of the way very, very strongly there. And now he has to be careful not getting in the way of the other group of cars there, as he does have to do so off the track and immediately almost gets into the way of Polypunk there. Loses a little bit of time from Domi getting back onto the track. And now he's once again very close with Aro. Party in the back, yes. Into the pit lane he goes. I'm afraid this is going to be a retirement. There's no more point continuing when you're lapped and the safety car comes out. But he's still going though, still no retirement. Aro getting another 3-second penalty in the meanwhile. Alexander leading comfortably. Now it's 8.5 seconds. There is no stopping this man tonight, looks like. Psycho now we're getting very close to Remco. Remco is suddenly losing a lot of pace. He's almost back within that group that he so wanted to be no part of tonight. But it looks like he's got no choice. His pace is no longer there. He's getting ever closer to Psycho's group of many overtakes down the inside. Speaking of that group, I think Freeware is starting to struggle to keep up. Polypunk and Haydar are still behind him. It's looking like this group is slowly starting to fall apart. And that Remco is going to join them. Sanegoat then might have a proper go here once again. There he goes, he's very close now. I think he's just gonna have a try. Is he capable of doing so with pretty much no battery? Yes, he is side by side with DRS into the inside in turn 1, and a bit of a touch there from Psycho going into the corner. That catches his car off guard a little bit, but he is able to stay ahead for the time being. A bit of contact there between the Williams and the McLaren driver, and the other question, of course, is does this mean front wing damage for Psycho? So far, though, it does look like his pace isn't affected just yet. He is safe at the moment. His arrows pretty much become an obstacle for the other drivers, I'm afraid. Once again, moving out of the way. Yellow flags all the way around him. Domi getting another 3-second time penalty. Domi is indeed lacking pace tonight, which is unfortunate. We know he can do so much more. He's well within the contention of the title fight. But tonight it just isn't to be. Sanogo then, well within DRS range and ready to snatch the podium place from Remco. Is he able to do so in the closing stages of the race with 4 laps to go? He is now closed the gap with the rest of his group. He is ahead of Psycho still. And he's got DRS as well to defend his position there. So, can he snatch the final podium place in the final few laps of the race? Let's see how capable he is. Remco moving into defensive position, very much in the inside. Not needed though, Sanogo doesn't have an opportunity to make a move there, but he's very slow in this turn. Turn 5, bit of an issue there for Remco. I think his tires somehow are giving up. We have another yellow flag for, I think that is Daz. Yes, it is. And Sanogo, oh my goodness, is very, very tight now between 3 drivers for the final podium position. Of course, Psycho is not really in contention due to his penalty, but it is indeed very tight now. 3 drivers fighting for P3. Let's see how that will end. Psycho is very dive bomb happy tonight. And there, a bad exit, bad corner there from Remco. That's Sanogo trying to go right the outside in the final 2 corners. And he succeeds. However, he might be in trouble now that he's ahead. He's not going to get any DRS. So that means Remco can possibly come back as he defends the inside line. 3 drivers then. We might see 3. It's going to go 3 wide here. Yes, it is. Psycho, Remco, and Sanogo. This is going to be carnage. No, it's Remco winning out for now. And Sanogo coming off worst due to his opportunistic move way too early. And that means he's now fallen down back to P5. Immediately, Freeware joining in the fight as well. Polypunk not too far behind either. It's absolute scary now with the final few laps for this position here. Now Remco and Psycho. Psycho going in the inside. But that means Remco can come back there on the inside in the next corner here. And immediately Sanogo profiting from the carnage over there. It's touching all around. I'm afraid it's just a matter of moments until we see some crashing going on here. I hope I'm wrong, but I might have just jinxed it. And Sanogo once again taking the opportunity to get past here. It's an incredible racing going on between 3 drivers. Freeware and Polypunk just hanging behind. But it is absolutely all the way down to the finish line for P3. The final podium place between now. It's looking like it's 6 cars fighting for that position. Hadar getting ahead of Polypunk there with all the happenings going on. Polypunk caught out a little bit. And now suddenly fallen back quite a while there. So then Psycho now in 3rd place. But Remco having the DRS being very close. Psycho is going to defend the inside. Looks like Sanogo still having some good moments there too for that. Remco is moving side by side with Psycho. Sanogo is going to move side by side. No, he's playing it safe. He knows Psycho has a penalty. And therefore, it means he's going to have to be patient. Freeware, there you go then. Why not? Sure. Immediately getting himself mixed into the battle there. Trying to take the position from Sanogo despite his penalty. He's still very fighting happy. Psycho having a little look there. It looks like Hadar's having a little go as well as he nearly loses control of his Mercedes there. Polypunk just waiting patiently behind. He's got no penalty. He knows he's safe for a good position here. Just hoping that Sanogo gets a penalty as well. That means Polypunk will claim P3. P8 can indeed get a podium still. It's a fight between so many cars for this position. They're all going side by side in any corner possible, but it looks like Remco is starting to pull away here. But he's got that penalty. No, he's actually not got a penalty, so that looks like Remco is safe for the time being with 1.5 lap to go. Psycho needs to close the gap with his group if he wants to stand any chance of reclaiming that potential podium place. Sanagoat is gonna have to hope for a miracle if he wants to still claim P3. He's gonna have to pass Remco, then he's guaranteed of a podium. He doesn't really need to pass Psycho. Of course, that would be a nice addition to this fight, of course, but it still isn't required. Looking a bit of weaving there as Sanagoat's going down the inside. He needs to overtake Remco in the final lap here. It's his only chance of getting a podium. There he goes then. Round the outside and the inside, immediately Psycho tries to fight back here, but he doesn't succeed just yet. He might just go for his famous dive bomb in this turn here, as he goes very wide off the track. Is he? Of course he's gonna have a go. There he goes then, trying to make it hard for Sanagoat to get back to Remco, and it looks like Remco is getting the most profit from this fight here, as he pulls away, now outside of a second. No more DRS from the group behind him. Setting the standard for clean, aggressive league racing. Indeed, it's going really well between all of those drivers. Sanagoat, Psycho going side by side once again in the final lap of the race. This is so intense that we are nearly forgetting that the winner is about to cross the finish line. He's ahead. He doesn't really need to, but he is. Psycho having one final attempt as Alexander wins the Portuguese Grand Prix with more than 10 seconds away from Wisp, who just didn't have the pace. Remco then going to claim the final podium place, but this battle that has caught our eye in the final few laps, and it's carnage! It is carnage in the last corner! Freeware spun out! And where is he? He's off the track somewhere, he's outside of camera view. And that means he's just losing more and more positions. Few meters away from the line, it's gone all wrong. And unfortunately, my prediction has come true. But that is so unfortunate for this man. He's lost it all. He was well within the fight for that podium position. He just lost the car. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Alexander with a dominant victory as after Wisp was no longer able to keep up with his pace and somehow losing 2 seconds all of a sudden out of nowhere. Remco, after an intense final battle, claiming the final podium place. Sanagoat just behind him in P4, Polypunk in P5, Psycho then moving down to 6th due to the penalty. Digsurf somehow claiming P7 due to the big penalty amount Hader has. Big Turbina in P9 and Freeware then in P10. My goodness, what a fight. Driver of the day, Sanagoat. I can't disagree on that one. I think he's made up quite a few places, so let's have a little look. Yeah, from P9 to P4, that's quite impressive actually. So then a Swedish 1-2, Alexander and Wisp finished. Remco in 3rd, as said before, after an intense final battle there, all the way down to P8, was really epic to see. Reapy then just outside the top 10, and here is the rest of the finishing order. Only one DNF, very, very, very impressive. So, let's move to the interviews. Let's see who is willing to give their point of view. Of course, I'd love to hear from Wisp. And let's see what happened when he lost the connection to his race win rival, so to say. Really epic battle in the final 4 laps, as actually it was quite a tame race, especially for tier 2. We've seen so many hard fights in this tier a few races earlier. Only 9 drivers were finishing in Monaco, and this was quite tame if I'm honest, until we hit lap 30 or 31. Very, very exciting indeed. So then, first and foremost, let's hear from our race winner. Congratulations, Alexander. Back in the race seat in Mercedes, and immediately you are showing your mighty pace. It, from our point of view at least, was quite a dominant victory. Do you agree on that one?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's fun to be back, especially in the Mercedes. Fun to have the Red Bull and Merc battle. I mean, I had some luck with the Wisp getting caught up in the train when he pitted, so I gained a couple of seconds from that. But yeah, I drove really sweaty today. Now I'm warm.
You're warm, okay. So that's 25 points straight in the bag for you. It will take a while for you to catch up to the top of the table, of course. But I'm interested to know your point of view for the title fight for this tier in this season. How do you think that will go?
I mean, the Red Bulls are really consistent. I think it's Red Bull 1 and 2 in the drivers.
Yep, it currently is.
So I think it's gonna be hard to beat them. Anything could happen. I don't know how many races are left. I think we're halfway.
Yeah, we just had 7, so there's still about 11 to go.
So I mean, maybe with some luck, I can get up to top 5, maybe.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what you can do in this tier, because you did really well last season in tier 3. So yeah, you're supposed to be pretty excited. It was very close in qualifying as well, by the way.
Yeah.
In terms of skills on this track, would this be in your top 5 best tracks, or can we expect even more?
I think this is one of my best tracks. I mean, it's a new track. It's fun to drive. It's hard to drive as well. You just need to get into the rhythm, and when you do that, then you're fine. So I think this was one of my best performances. Just to build a gap and just drive sweaty all race. But I think there's more to come.
All right, I'm really curious to see what is to come. Enjoy your sweaty victory tonight, and I'll see you next week in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Right, then the man who came home second tonight, he was able to keep up with Alexander for a few laps, and then suddenly we saw a 2.4 second gap. So, Wisp, take us through those first few laps where you were able to keep up, and then suddenly you had a gap. What happened?
I had some good pace. Alexander was really quick. I didn't expect that, but he was just really quick. And then my screen froze, so I had to pause and then unplug and plug it in.
Ah.
And the AI just lost like 3 seconds on me, and then I just couldn't recover because of Portugal.
Because of Portugal, yeah. You were losing pace over the laps slowly but surely. Other than that, are you satisfied with the result today?
It's okay. Not really what I wanted to finish, but yeah, it's fine, I guess. It's better than being last.
Now that Alexander does have a permanent seat, do you consider him to be a title rival?
Nope.
Okay. Well, that was a short and clear answer, so... okay, well, who do you consider, though, to be your closest rival at the moment, then?
I haven't had a look at the standings at the moment, but I think it's Big Turbino who's the closest to me.
It is, yes.
I don't know after this race who will be, but...
It might
yeah,
actually
I
be
guess...
Remco, if my calculations are correct.
Yeah, it's either Remco or Big Turbine at this point.
Okay, interesting, very interesting. You will be extending your lead on most of the drivers tonight, though, so that must be a bit of a relief after 2, well, not as great races in Monaco and the race before that. But looking forward a little bit to Azerbaijan, what can we expect from you there?
I'm a bit of a pace demon, as they call me at Azerbaijan, so yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, so that's good to know. Let's see if you can make your title through there. I'm very curious to see you in Azerbaijan. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your second place, and see you next week.
Thanks for the commentary.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right, so loud and clear from Wisp. He doesn't consider Alexander to be his title rival just yet. It was a loud and clear no from Wisp. Alexander himself also doesn't consider to be a title rival to Wisp. But let's see. Let's see what happens in the next few races. There's still a long way to go. We're not even halfway yet. We're getting close to the halfway point, but we're not there yet. Next week, as I said, it's going to be Azerbaijan. The completely different circuit. A street circuit as well, so we might see some more DNFs and some safety cars. Many 90-degree corners, so plenty of action still to come. However, there is still some Portugal action in the America tiers. And of course, tomorrow, same time for Tier 1. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was a joy, especially the last few laps, to commentate once more. Very, very exciting to see. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you next week. Good night.